Ask this guy to let me in.
Come on. It's the driver's responsibility. Put on your signal and move in like a man. You don't ask permission.
Ready to go to Paris?
All set.
I was very worried when the show got successful and the budget did expand. They said you could spend whatever you wanted, that the comedy was going to suffer. I always thought cheap and comedy are good together. But somehow it didn't hurt us.
No, I don't think it made a difference.
Yeah.
It killed me because your craft service budget became unlimited. I remember the guys.
And yet, craft service was always the same thing.
No,
Do you
no,
remember? Don't you remember?
No, when that guy Billy came in, there were catered meals 3 times a day.
Prior to that, I just remember Susie Greenberg saying to you, you can spend whatever you want. You said, you got to be kidding me. This is all you can eat cafe? And, and it was like, there was a plate of carrots and there were some olives over there, and that was pretty much what was lined up.
Right.
That was it for like 8 years. And then that's what we referred to it from then on. The all-you-can-eat cafe is what we'd refer to craft service that essentially looked like this table with things of water on it.
The budget was really there for all the exterior work we were doing.
Yeah.
That's where we really started to break
When they
out.
built us that street, that was when things were
An underwater shot. Let's go over to Universal.
Yeah,
Put me in a water tank and set that up for half a day.
Buddy.
Why are you wearing that?
It's my winter coat.
You're gonna wear this all the time?
All signs point to yes. High five. On the flip side. Hey! Cocktail off the speaker. I'm a recovering germaphobe. 10 years. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's right.
You stole my Jesus fish, didn't you?
But the high five is just so stupid.
Oh, yeah? I'll tell you what's stupid. You, stupid. Elaine, I want to break up.
Putty, it's Elaine. We're through.
Elaine, be reasonable.
Get those clothes off. You're spending the night and we're gonna cuddle.
What?
You heard me, strip!
Great performance.
He was just talking the other day when we did the commentary about he was so blown away to have done the show, and then 3 seasons later, he comes back to make the significant run.
Right.
And he said it was just such a gift.
He is so fantastic.
And his energy was such a great foil against actually all of us, you know, because everything was so pitched and he was so and this too, you know, that way of
squinting into the distance at some unseen object.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I remember we were shooting outside somewhere on New York Street.
Yeah.
And I was about maybe 4 months pregnant with Charlie. You know, not really pregnant yet, just fat. And you came up to me and you said, hey, listen, we got an idea of how to play this out this season. What if Elaine just gets fat? And I just burst into tears.
Really? Yeah, burst into tears.
Just burst into tears.
No kidding.
Yeah, so anyway, we didn't...
You know what? It's a really good idea.
It is a good... But you know what? It is a good idea.
It's a great idea.
I know.
Yeah.
Cooler head should have prevailed, but at that moment I was...
A lot of hormones.
That was hard to hear.
Yeah.
If I was there, I would have talked you into that.
You would have.
I don't think so.
I think
You might have. Yeah. You might have. But it would have taken a few lunches.
Light lunches.
Light. No, not in my case.
that must be interesting if your kids watch the show and see those shows when you're pregnant.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and I say, oh, look, Charlie, that's you in my tummy, or that's Henry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you were able to do some really physical stuff, even though you were still...
Yeah, you remember when we were doing that fighting thing and you say, can't you two see you love each other?
Right.
Get your finger out of my face.
You get yours out. I was here first.
I don't care.
Get it out. Get it out. Out.
Hey, all right. Hey, come on. Stop it. Come on. Break it up. Hey! What's the matter with you? Now, don't you two see that you're in love with each other?
I remember feeling that the first time, because when you get pregnant, it's harder to catch your breath, you know. I remember we were doing all of that, and I was like, wow, that's harder to do now.
Should I pick up?
Do you want me to get that?
I'll get it.
I'll get it.
Who are you?
Don't worry.
Morty Seinfeld. I cut velvet for 40 years with Harry Altman.
1946, I went to work for Harry Fleming. And I came up with the idea for the beltless trench coat.
These haven't been made in 20 years.
Why would they? Nobody bought them then.
My stories are what sell these clothes.
Cheap fabric and dim lighting. That's how you move merchandise.
You were making out during Schindler's List?
You want my urine?
Don't eat cookies for breakfast.
Who eats dinner at 4:30?
By the time we sit down, it'll be 4:45.
He's like Nixon.
Yeah. So good.
Lovely.
Barney Martin.
Oh,
That was a
so-
godsend
such a
too. That
sweet
was
guy.
really
what a sweet man.
never acted in his life till he was 50 years old.
That's
Is that right?
He was in New York City Cop.
And he was in The Producers, the film of The Producers.
Yep.
He was very funny in Arthur.
Arthur was a big move for him.
Right.
And he was Jackie Gleason's stand-in in The Honeymooners.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He
Was
would
he really?
rehearse. He would rehearse.
No
Because,
kidding.
you know, Gleason would never rehearse.
Wow.
And Liz was fantastic.
Yeah.
James Dean's ex-paramour.
That's right.
They fit together nicely, too, as a couple.
The two of them?
Yeah,
Very
he bought
much
that.
so.
You know who else I really loved? Lloyd Bridges did a couple of shows.
Oh, what a great man.
Just a gem.
Yeah.
Boy, was he funny. And
Yeah,
sweet.
and loved being funny.
You think you're the #1 dad.
You think that you are the #1 dad? This was a gift from my son. Oh, I see how it works now. He knocks me out of commission so you can strut around in your fancy #1 shirt.
That was after me.
It was?
Lloyd Bridges, yeah. I wasn't there for him.
You weren't there for Lloyd?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He was a lovely man.
I'm sorry.
What do you want?
I want a decent sock that's comfortable, that'll stay on my foot.
It's not top of the muffin to you.
No, it is.
Oh, God.
The chief beekeeper was this horrible hag of a woman with gnarled teeth and a giant wart she called a nose. He's back on the horse, Elaine. Smack. White Palace. A Chinaman's nightcap.
There's no human fund. Those donation cards were fake.
What's the matter with you? This is the third time I've had to repeat myself.
I don't want you to think that anyone's going to treat you any differently just because of your handicap.
I'd also like to welcome back into the fold our little shrimpy friend, George Costanza, who, although he really didn't have a very good year, how you blew that McConnell deal, I'll never know. But hey, what the hell, huh? We've always enjoyed his antics around the office. Anything you want to add to this?
Drink up! It's come to my attention that you and the cleaning woman have engaged in sexual intercourse on the desk in your office. Is that correct? Was that wrong? Should I not have done that? I tell you, I got a feeling.
That was hard to get through.
Was that wrong?
Yeah. Was I not have done that?
Richard Fancy, he really seemed like he worked at that company.
Yeah.
You know?
He's an amazing actor.
Yeah.
And years before Seinfeld, I did a pilot for NBC that was a spin-off from Family Ties called The Art of Being Nick. And he was in it essentially as an extra. And we didn't know each other, but he came up with a bit that we did that ended up in the pilot that was actually really funny. And then he shows up and he's the boss.
Wow.
It was such a treat to see him. Really talented guy.
Yeah,
And Peterman, that was one of the
Another
greatest
perfect cast, yeah.
casting. Boy, did he get everything out of every word there?
He got it all.
Yeah, with his own funky take on it.
But it was a great character. I mean, if you look
Totally.
at those, we got the character from the catalog.
Right.
By the way, do you know that John O'Hurley has bought into the Peterman catalog now? He's part owner of it. Isn't that weird?
That is weird.
How about this shirt? Is this okay?
Jerry, he's a guy.
Elaine, you don't know the first thing about first base.
Stephen Snell, I know people, and I have a very good feeling about you.
If you bring it up again, I'll feed your genitals to a wolf.
Can I ask you something? Listen, you... Wait.
All aboard the pain train.
I'm not sorry. I was never sorry. It was cashmere. I hate Step 9.
You promised the kid in the hospital that I'd hit 2 home runs. Hey, we won the World Series.
In 6 games.
I missed that Jeter episode.
That wasn't you?
No, I wasn't there.
You would have been ashamed to me. I knew so little and continue to know so little about sports. They showed up a couple weeks after winning the series, and I didn't know which was which.
Excuse me. Hi. Could you tell me what kind of law this is?
Well, they just passed it last year.
Oh.
It's modeled after the French law. I heard about it after Princess Diana was killed and all those photographers were just standing around.
Oh, yeah.
And you're the first ones to be arrested on it, probably in the whole country.
Let's talk about how that finale was received.
And I think one of the things that people had a problem with is it didn't feel like the show because it wasn't small. It was big.
Right.
And we didn't really do big.
Right.
You know, small was really our instrument that we played. And that might have been why the people that were so used to the show and liked it so much felt a little, this doesn't fit in. But it was the finale, you know?
Exactly,
It should have been different.
I also don't know what any human being could have written that would have lived up to the hype and the expectation and the speculation.
To what people had going on in their own. I mean, for every other episode, nobody's thinking about what's the show going to be about this week. They just turn it on and watch it.
Right.
But for a finale...
Oh, my God.
It's just
for a series finale, they all have their little ideas of what should happen.
Right.
And your show isn't going to be better than the one that they had in their head.
Right.
And what could be more fun than seeing everybody that we had seen over those 9 years come back through our lives, through this, you know, the only possible venue that they could was this crazy trial.
If I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't have kept it so secret, like what it was about and all that.
What difference did that make?
Well, I just think that...
it heightened the hype?
Raised the expectations again,
raised the expectations,
Although I think that's unavoidable. I mean, how many people ultimately tuned in to watch it? Something crazy like 70 million or something like that? You couldn't avoid it.
And we didn't die licking an envelope, so...
Yeah, no.
The 4 of us are in a jail cell.
Yep.
That's the closure. That's ultimately what everybody was tuning into.
We were talking about if we did one more scene, you know, it would be a coffee shop scene of them getting out of prison, and they'd get in the booth, the 4 of them, and the first line would be,
"That was brutal." She's all tatted up, shaved in.
Huge muscles. We could have kept going, obviously. We were the #1 show on television. And I always wanted to ask you, actually, if you were as convinced, were you completely convinced at that moment that we were doing the right thing?
You know, when we go through this stuff and the feelings come up again, you go, oh, maybe we should have. But at the time, it not only seemed artistically right, it seemed right for where we all were in our lives at that moment. We've done this, and it's not going to get better than this. We can sustain it, but it's not going to get better, and I think you're right. That's a good indication of maybe that's the time.
I was open to going ahead.
Right.
But when I heard that, I go, that's the first time I've ever heard that kind of thinking. We can't get any better.
It was pretty hard for me to do the show that way. I mean, I was struggling.
You know, you had 9 years of no break. The show was cake for us. We knew the characters. The show was easy. You, as far as I can remember, never had a break.
Right.
So we'd finish shooting one, you'd have the next one to prep, and then when we went into our summer hiatus, you guys were figuring out what the next 22 shows were going to be. But, you know, if I had been doing that for 9 years, I think I would have felt pretty burned out.
I was pretty convinced that that was the right thing to do in that moment. Although I will say about a month later when we were getting ready to wind down, I thought, oh, man.
Oh, really?
What were we thinking? as it became more and more clear, sort of what we were saying goodbye to, you know, that was a hard thing to do.
Yeah, it was very clear. This extraordinary event and the power of it and the magic of it and what it has done in the world, that's once in a lifetime. You know, you're never going to see this again. And I was very aware of that.
The thing I felt most strongly is that the show deserved a potent finish. You know, not not a trickle. An ennui. That would not have suited it because it had reached so many high levels that you had to go for something that was a little distinctive. You know, it was a weird thing to do. You know, #1 television shows don't go off the air.
I remember when we were shooting the finale, and remember they had to block out in front of the stage because our stage was very close to the gate, and so there was all sorts of reporters and paparazzi sort of staked out, and I was like, wow, I couldn't believe people cared that much to be staking out on the sidewalk, you know? Because when you're doing it, it was just us doing it. It wasn't, you're not thinking about the ripple effect, the mark you're gonna make. You're just doing the show, you know? That's why I say we're its biggest fans.
Right.
You know?
It always felt like our little show.
Right?
Yeah.
The garage band.
Yeah.
Well, it's only a year. That's not so bad. We'll be out in a year. And then we'll be back.
Could be fun. Don't have to worry about your meals or what you're gonna do Saturday nights, and they do shows. Yeah, we could put on a show. Maybe Bye Bye Birdie or My Fair Lady. Yeah, Elaine. You could be Liza Doolittle.
Why don't you just blow it out your
See, now, to me, that button is in the worst possible spot.
Really?
Oh, yeah. The second button is the key button. It literally makes or breaks the shirt. Look at it. It's too high. It's in no man's land.
Haven't we had this conversation before?
You think?
I think we have.
Yeah, maybe we have.